Beautiful morning that got even more beautiful because now Kavita and I have been joined by a special guest, Ranjani and Gayatri. Actually, guests na chalo kudadu. I think Ranjani and Gayatri are now very close to Margazhi. They did one of our pre-Margazhi videos last year. They were our first artist of the month earlier this year at Margazhi. And today they are here with us to share a little bit about their journey through 2013 and also what we can expect to hear from them this Margazhi season. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking time off. You know, it gets busier and busier this time of the year. It's wonderful to be here with you. Kavita, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling, to have you both with us this morning. We really look forward to having you here this morning. And I'm sure you've had a glorious year of music. I know that you had your bit of, share of globetrotting. And of course, you did a lot of concerts in India. To name a few, I think you did a concert tour of Abhangs, specifically. So how has this year been so far and what are your expectations from the Margazhi season?
Thank you for the question, Kavita, and thank you, Pavitra, for your beautiful introduction. We feel actually coming to you, we feel very, very happy to be part of the Margazhi family. We also feel very close to the Margazhi family. And yes, as you rightly said, our association has been at least a year long, and we've enjoyed every bit of it.
And it's actually a very novel feeling to be talking with two friends of ours rather than just one, and I'm really enjoying in this discussion. Margazhi, even this interview, I think it kind of signals that yes, the season is here, yet another season with all its expectations, pains and joys. So I think your question is a long one. How has the year been? And the year has been very eventful, very, very musically enriching. I think especially 2013 has been a year when I have learnt a lot, tried doing different things, and it has been worth every minute of it. In particular, I remember the IKEA concert that we did in March, on March 31st. And that was the first time when I and Ranjani were doing something that we weren't entirely sure about.
We actually worked with 10 artists and different artists, and to bring it all together as part of a show was something very, very different for us, and it was a very enriching, different, unique experience.
We had a theme as the Bhagavad Gita, or the topic was conflict. The Bhagavad Gita was the starting point for the inspiration point for the concert, but the theme was human conflict and how do you resolve human conflict in order to move towards the divine spirit, and that was the theme, and I just loved every minute of it. I remember tearing my hair out and saying, why is every piece in this has to be something that I have to compose, but I read somewhere that the moments that we feel most pressured and actually are the greatest learning moments, and that's what happened.
I remember the concert had an eclectic choice of music.
Yeah.
You had a Bharatiyar song, and then you had a bhajan, and then you had a proper kriti in between. So all woven around that, that conflict.
Yeah, it is very different because I think the most substantial part of our concerts is the raga alapana, the interval and the swaram, and all the creative bits that go. And for such musicians like us, for whom this is the main tapestry of our concerts, to have a concert without raga alapana, it's something like we can't even imagine. And how do you challenge yourself? How do you let the creativity shine through without resorting to the traditional known methods of creative expression? That was a huge challenge for us, and we did our best.
You did a fantastic job.
Every album, right from except for one or two pieces, everything had to be composed. I remember the medley of Bharatiyar, which we had to pick to suit the theme from different poetries, or whether it was the Abhang, and or whether it was, and then there was this whole piece of an instrumental
I remember
music
that.
piece where we actually played the violin too. So all of it fitted into a whole for me, as in, you know.
I think it was a really special experience, which was very different.
Yeah.
I think it was also a very special experience and something so different that perhaps I think it's something which can draw a newer audience, maybe someone who's not so used to listening to a typical classical music concert. But this kind of an not really experimental but a different format, an initiation of sorts into the joys of listening to this form of music. I think that concert actually was a shining example of that as well.
Thank you, Pavitra. Actually, when we conceptualized, we were also thinking about breaking out of what we were used to, much more, our comfort zone.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. And more so was that we are always, as main artists in a classical music scenario, we are very much in control. We know that our accompanists, what our accompanists would do, how, because of so many years of doing that. It's all very creative and extemporary in that point. But still, there is a kind of understanding. That was also a challenge when we performed that day. That there were 10 artists. We were not very sure how they would respond. There were also people across the genres. I mean, it was not all film background, from semi-classical background. So to put them on Hindustani background. So for it all to come together, that was a challenge.
You had a couple of concerts here in London, if I'm not wrong, and then elsewhere. I'm not too sure.
Australia.
We started the tour with
New
Zealand and Australia, and then we had a concert in. We went to Australia twice. I mean, it's okay. I mean, whether I went to Australia or New Zealand or Malaysia.
No, but at
so
least
basically the concert format is the same.
But here at least you know what the expectations of the rasikas are. But how do you plan out your concerts when you're performing abroad?
On a very deeper level, actually we don't change our music.
Okay.
No artist actually can change their music to suit a particular thing. I cannot transform from being Ranjani to somebody else. Just to suit a particular taste. All I can do is be honest to my sensibilities and what I feel about. And yes, to an extent it will change. Like for example, if you go to Malaysia, there is a lot of 90% there is a Tamil population. Then you would like to choose Tamil songs, but then again the way you express, do the Neramal, Alapana, everything is
Has
you.
to be
Everything
can't
is
change
you.
that.
Yes. So it's just instead of Va Muruga, that would be, it will be Va Muruga instead of saying
Another person.
As part of your globe-trotting tours, heard about the stop at the Kennedy Center, a little bit about that.
Sure, it was lovely actually to perform for the Kennedy Center, which is one of the most premier institutions in the United States. Actually, அது வரைக்கும் தெரியல, but once we entered that, all the way it is built, the way, history, 300 years of history is preserved in that country. It's worth really, taking a leaf from them. And ரொம்ப அழகா இருந்தது, the way entry point lane there, everything was so systematic and disciplined. The way the sound check happens, the way people are ushered inside, the way artists are ushered inside, separate entities.
What struck me was, they have museums, and you're talking about a country which is really young, and it makes them, very proud of their history, even having such a short history book. And I think we have such a wonderful, there's no words to describe the kind of history and the kind of treasure that we have. And it's so great that I think we really take it for granted.
Exactly.
And we live, it's not that I need to go to a museum to see history. We live in a country where history is all around us. Any temple, and there are so many beautiful temples all around us. Just enter the temple and there you are. There is history, there's architecture, there's beauty, there's art, all in a beautiful amalgam. Went to a music concert, so actually, through that artist actually have a peek into a wonderful tradition that is centuries old. So I think when you have so much of treasures, when you are living in a cave full of gems, you actually sometimes don't realize the value of that it is. And that's I think what and that made me actually love my heritage much more when you go out.